Welcome to the Snapshot of the Art of Communicating by Thich Nhat Hanh. Here we'll explore the key insights from the art of communicating. Introduction. Authentic communication through technology is possible, but it requires that you practice the same kind of mindful preparation and processes that make face-to-face conversations meaningful. It begins with mindful breathing and attention to the conversations inside yourself. Once you master this, you're capable of communicating with and understanding others. Your capacity to listen deeply and speak lovingly will grow, fostering compassion and reducing suffering in you and others. Communicating with yourself. You must first find your way home to yourself. If you can't communicate with yourself, you won't be able to communicate with other people. This starts with your breath. Mindful breathing allows you to let go of your fears, worries, and regrets while keeping you in the present moment. To practice mindful breathing, breathe in and be aware that you're breathing in. Then breathe out, being fully aware that you're breathing out. In doing this, tensions disappear and clarity is possible. Mindful breathing takes only a few minutes, and you can enjoy this release many times during the day. In addition, practicing mindfulness while you walk gives you the chance to check in with yourself and the earth at the same time. It doesn't require an app or an Outlook appointment reminder. Just feel your footfall and the ground beneath you with each step. Our minds are usually monopolized by trying to rewrite the past, focusing on the future, or worrying about what people think about us. However, when you practice mindful breathing, you can put away thinking entirely. These moments that bring you back home to yourself require that you stop talking by putting your phone away and stop thinking by putting your anxiety away. While breathing mindfully, if you feel your fears and sadness arise, acknowledge them without judging them. This is a time to accept those emotions, not to ignore them. In accepting your suffering, you enlarge your capacity for compassion. The keys to communicating with others. It helps to know that we all have a Buddha inside ourselves. It's your best, most wise self, and you should try to behave in a way that reveals this Buddha self. Also remember that there's a Buddha in every other person. In Vietnam, as in many Asian cultures, people greet each other with a bow to acknowledge the other's Buddha self. It was not until the French arrived that the Vietnamese adopted the odd habit of shaking hands as Westerners do. When you shake hands and greet another person, imagine yourself acknowledging their Buddha self and actively engage your own as well. The first key to communicating with others is to practice deep listening. This means that you hear others without judgment and allow them to express whatever they're feeling. If you respond with judgment or anger, you've stopped listening. Don't try to correct their perceptions, misunderstandings, or accusations. Just listen. The time for providing them with helpful information will come later. Your goal in deep listening is to give the other person an opportunity to reduce their suffering. To really know or love another person, you must learn about their suffering. The second key to communicating with others is to use loving speech, also known as right speech. This means that you tell the truth in a loving way. Your goal in doing this is to increase understanding and compassion. The 4 guidelines for right speech are: 1. Tell the truth. If the truth seems hurtful, find a compassionate way to tell it so that the other person hears you without feeling threatened. 2. Don't exaggerate. Don't make things sound worse or better than they really are. By not being truthful, you can destroy the trust that's necessary for a relationship. 3. Be consistent. Don't change your story to suit your audience. The Vietnamese call this speaking in a forked tongue, and it causes suffering on all sides. You may feel that there's an advantage to saying one thing to one person and something else to another, but this causes division and is often hurtful. 4. Use peaceful language. Don't humiliate, shame, or abuse another person with your language. Don't speak in a way that is toxic or hateful. To make sure you're using right speech, be aware of the other person's perspective and understanding of the world. The 6 mantras of loving speech. One way to communicate to others how much you care about them is to recite mantras of loving speech. A mantra is a sentence that's designed to bring happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh provides 6 mantras of loving speech. This snapshot includes 4 of them. 1. I am here for you. Being truly present for another person is the greatest gift, as it requires nothing from the other person. 2. I know you are there, and I am very happy. At times, you may have your head in the clouds when spending time with loved ones, and this may make them feel ignored or unloved. This mantra lets your loved ones know that their presence makes you happy. It also reminds you of how lucky you are to have them in your presence. 3. I know you suffer, and that is why I am here for you. Because you're mindful, you are aware when your friend is suffering, and you can provide them relief with your compassion. 4. This is a happy moment. Be present and don't miss those happy moments with others. Notice how lucky you are to have each other and say it. Said with love, these mantras can change a situation, reduce tension, connect you with others, and bring you home to yourself. When difficulties arise. It's a mistake to try to communicate with others when you're angry, but unfortunately, anger is often a motivator for communication. When you're angry, you may feel unable to use loving speech. If this is the case, it's far better to sit with your anger for a while, practice mindful breathing, and try to find where your anger comes from. Don't suppress this anger, but let it simmer down. When you're ready, approach the person who caused your anger. Remember that when two people who care about each other have a disagreement, disappointment, or misunderstanding, both are suffering. But communicating will lessen the suffering of both. Acknowledge the unhappiness and then explain your intentions to relieve suffering and your desire to listen and understand. Compassion can help heal and restore many types of relationships. Healing the wounds caused by family is very difficult, and without loving communication, the suffering can cycle through generations. It's impossible to change your siblings, your parents, or the past, but you can look at their suffering and at least feel compassion for them. Reconciliation might be possible if you first practice mindfulness, understand the nature of your own suffering, and then reach out to others and ask them about their suffering. Long-term relationships with people other than family can also present challenges. You shouldn't try to change your partner, but you can be in control of the change you seek for yourself. When you're experiencing difficulties with your partner, practice mindfulness and breathe mindfully. When you're ready, make yourself available for deep listening without judgment or correction. Give yourself time to respond to all of your partner's information and wait for the right time to give feedback with loving speech. Following the same rules of deep listening and right speech can help reduce suffering in situations involving political and religious differences. If peace talks required negotiators to practice mindful breathing, the parties might be more open to listening to each other with understanding and compassion. Citizens who practice right speech and deep listening can train their fellow citizens to do the same. Together, our compassionate communication skills can make a difference in larger communities and ultimately make the world a better place. Mindful communication at work. Rather than spending your commute to work rehearsing what will happen when you arrive, practice mindfulness and stay in the present moment. In doing this, you'll arrive at work ready to greet your colleagues instead of walking right past them because you have so much on your mind. You'll be calm and centered, which helps create an environment where right speech and deep listening are possible. Be an example to your colleagues of what mindfulness can do to reduce stress and improve communication. Find a space in your workplace where everyone can practice mindful breathing. Include a time for the group to sit quietly for a few minutes at meetings. If that's not possible, make sure to take time for your own mindful breathing before you attend a meeting. Look at every meeting as an opportunity for right speech and deep listening. Even in day-to-day work tasks, you can practice mindful communication. Work requires communication through phones, email, and other technologies, and information can come at you so quickly that you feel distracted and irritable. A good practice is to take several mindful breaths before answering the phone or reading an email. It may take longer to get through your inbox, but you'll be a more effective communicator as a result. Practices for compassionate communications. The author lays out several everyday tips and habits to make yourself mindful, compassionate, and more likely to sustain healthy relationships. These tricks include 1. Program your computer to sound a bell at intervals to remind you to stop what you're doing and practice mindful breathing. 2. Take time out to enjoy a cup of tea and spend that time truly enjoying the tea. 3. Establish a peace treaty with someone you love that provides rules for when one of you is angry. These rules might include a waiting period, meeting, apology, or discussion. 4. Practice flower watering. In this formal process, you take turns expressing authentic, truthful appreciation for another person. You express regret for any hurtful behavior and use loving speech. Listen deeply as the other person has their turn. 5. Try a hugging meditation. Bow to the other person, close your eyes, and imagine yourself with this person 300 years in the future. Take deep breaths, cherishing the moment. Smile, open your arms, and hug for 3 deep breaths. This practice shows how much you cherish each other and allows both of you to begin anew. Conclusion. The state of calm brought on by mindful breathing is the core of communication, whether it's print, electronic, or face-to-face communication. Becoming an artful communicator begins with taking the time and effort to first understand yourself. Without that loving dialogue that brings you home to yourself, it's impossible to feel the compassion required to listen deeply to others. Use loving speech to communicate. Being mindful and appreciative of significant others in your life will remind you of how lucky and happy you are. Staying in the present helps alleviate worries about the future and regrets about the past. And if you fail, you can always begin anew with right thoughts, speech, and actions. About Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist teacher and spiritual leader. His teachings combine early Buddhist traditions with modern Western mindfulness. He has published more than 70 books in English, founded several Buddhist schools, and lectured at Princeton, Columbia, and Cornell universities. Thank you for listening to the snapshot of The Art of Communicating by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Thank you for listening to our quick learning audiobook review series. If you like what you heard, then check out our channel for more free audiobook reviews. We post new audiobooks every week. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to be first to hear of our latest reviews.